Thumbs up. Okay, welcome everybody to the February 14th regular Town Council meeting. I'll let everybody know that Councillor Curtis is zooming in and I have him here, so any comments or any voting we'll be able to see. So, okay, first up, sustainability plan. This is on our agenda every time. Just so everybody just keeps this in mind, right? Okay, good. I'll be looking for a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Warwa makes that motion. Will be there any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor, carried. Looking for a motion for the minutes of our last regular meeting. Councillor Lemko makes the motion. Any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, carried. Thank you. Okay, correspondence. Who's up here? Is it me? Oh, sorry. Okay, it's me. The National Police Federation. Dear Mayor McPhee and Town of Vegreville Council, as you might be aware, in January, the National Police Federation, the NPF, launched the Keep Alberta RCMP Community Engagement Tour to provide information and to listen to Albertans about the provincial government's unpopular and wasteful plan to transition to a new provincial police service. We are now just over halfway through our scheduled community engagement tour, having completed 3 rounds of in-person events and 3 online sessions. We have visited 22 municipalities from Pincher Creek to Fort McMurray and met with hundreds of Albertans from all walks of life. From all these meetings, one thing is clear: Albertans want answers from the government and do not support this transition. The government of Alberta has committed to making a decision about the future of the RCMP in Alberta this spring. However, the pressing concern that remains top of mind for the public is the limited options available to them to hear the government's presentation and to have their questions answered. The GOA, the Government of Alberta, sessions that are currently happening are only open to invited participants from municipal governments and not to the general public or other groups. And we understand that even then there are many questions the Alberta Justice Team cannot answer. If you have recently attended one of the GOA's APPS presentations and would like to share any of your thoughts and feedback with us, we would appreciate hearing it and being able to pass it along. These will allow us to let the public know what information is available to them through you, the elected official. Albertans deserve answers to their questions and to understand why the government is proceeding with this unwanted idea. A special thank you to all who have come out of our session so far. It has been great to talk with you about what this proposed transition might mean for your communities. If you have not yet attended one of our Keep Alberta RCMP sessions, we still have a number of in-person and virtual sessions which can be found here, www.keepalbertarcmp.ca. Unlike the GOAs, our presentations are open to all. Please feel free to send this link to anybody who might be interested in attending. Okay, I'll take a motion to receive and file on that. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any comments? Go ahead. Councillor Warwa.
Thank you. So I always appreciate any information that we can have. I just do think it's always important to bring forward where and what we're receiving information from. So the National Police Federation is the union that represents the RCMP. So that's the reality of this. That's who they are. So I appreciate that they are saying they are open to anyone, but we do have to understand that as a province, they contract and decide policing, and this is the representative for the police. So they're certainly not actually just wanting to hear without giving any level of input or push. And that's not to suggest we support or don't support. I'm just wanting to make sure that people that might hear that letter, because sometimes the word National Police and Federation, it's somewhat maybe doesn't quite, they might think that they're different representatives or policing representatives, but to be very clear, they are the union of. So they're not going into communities hoping to propose to remove their people from having a job. I just think that's important. And again, we've always said we support the RCMP and the good job they're doing and look forward to seeing what comes from the province. But I just think it is worth noting, since they're saying it's not open as the government of Alberta. Well, I think it's fair to say these are two categorically different entities and parties. They're not really worrying about the entire representation of what, of the policing as much as they are their employees. So I just think it's fair to note that.
There's no doubt there is bias, and then they lose their jobs. Councillor Riddick.
Can I talk? Okay, sorry. It says enter meeting, so I'm not sure that it's on.
You don't have your little red light on. Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah. It went off again. On now?
Nope, hit it again.
It went off.
There you go.
Thank you. Sorry. I agree that we, of course, definitely want to make sure that we are aware of who's providing the information to us at what time. I did attend one of their online sessions on February 3rd, and it was actually very clear that they were very clear about whose perspective they were presenting. But they also were very clear about the fact that the people that they've engaged with and who they've polled are actually municipalities who are paying for policing and citizens. So there were a number of different people on the call, ranging from elected officials like us, as well as people that are part of community policing groups. We used to have a police committee that was a group of diverse citizens from across the community, and that was already disbanded about 10 years ago. But I think in some of the things that they highlighted is the inability for municipalities to address their concerns with the other presentations that are being put on by the province. So the difference about this presentation, for sure, they come with a bias, but they're very clear about their bias. And they didn't dissuade anybody from being able to understand which point of view they were coming from. But the questions that were asked by a variety of people that were asking the questions is the kinds of questions that were presented by Alberta municipalities as well, that what would happen in the transition if, for example, an election was held and we were halfway through whatever transition that would be, as well as the really important part that the province ultimately decides the level of policing. So there's always been a pushback that it's federally determined, but the Alberta government could decide at any time to increase the number of prosecutors, the number of additional supplementary police attendants that there could be, which could include community peace officers and fish and wildlife. So I did find this presentation valuable, and I will also do the other one that's provided by the province. But it is a complicated proposal by the province, and I do feel like this particular letter, in addition to their presentation, allows a fulsome understanding of what's included in policing, because it is a very complicated issue. But it did help the conversation that they did have other people there besides elected officials and government insiders.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody else attended any of the meetings, either side, the provincial ones or the union ones? Oh, Federation ones, not union.
No, they're union, that's what they are.
Yeah, I'm going to Vermilion on Wednesday to attend the Federation here. And then I'm booked in to do the provincial one as well, so hopefully you'll all take a look at that. And so anyway, anybody else have any other comment? Okay, all those in favor of receiving file? Great, thank you. This next one is you, Chris. Sorry. CAO Leggett.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, this is a letter dated January the 14th, 2022, addressed to the former administrator, so I'll take it here. Dear Mr. Craig, as of November 27th, 2021, the members of the Northern Lights Library System Board have approved the 2022 budget. The budget includes 0% levy increase for municipalities and/or their library boards. Levies will be based on the 2016 population as per the Alberta government website. Please send a copy of your municipal council motion accepting or rejecting the presented Northern Lights Library System Board 2022 budget at 0% levy increase. The levy is calculated as follows: $5.23 per capita for the municipality, $10.46 per capita for the municipality without library board. The total level or levy for 2022 equals $30,114.34 from the town of Vegreville, calculated as $57.58 times $5.23. Within this levy is library book allotment funds of $12,379.70, calculated as $5,758 times $2.15, from the above $5.23 per capita is allocated to the Vegreville Library. If you have any questions, you may contact your Northern Library Board member representative. A copy of the budget is available from your Northern Lights Library Board member representative. Regards, Vicky Lefebvre, Chairman, Northern Lights Library Systems Board, and James McDonald, Executive Director, Northern Lights Library Systems.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion for more than receive and file. A motion to go ahead and pay up on, to make the motion that we make the payment to the Northern Lights Library Board. Councilor Riddick makes the motion. Sure. Any discussion? All those in favor? This is, and it's in our budget already, I'm sure that it's okay. Okay, thank you. Next up, Director Lefebvre.
Thank you, Your Worship. The topic is this is an RCD for the Draft Town Owned Vehicle Use Policy. The proposal is to approve the Draft Town Owned Vehicle Use Policy. Background, as part of the new employee orientation and the vehicle orientation process, the guidelines listed in the draft policy are explained to employees. Currently, all employees must acknowledge and sign off that they have been orientated. However, the guidelines have never been formalized as a policy ratified by council. Advantages, the town of Vegreville will have a standard formal written policy for the use of town-owned vehicles. Communication strategy, directors will ensure that all their managers have read and understand this policy, and the managers will in turn ensure that all employees have done the same by completing the acknowledgement on the last page of the orientation. This acknowledgement will be placed in each personnel file. The directors will ensure this policy is included in the new employee orientation checklist. Recommendation is being made the town council approve the town-owned vehicle use policy.
Okay, thank you, Dale. So, I mean, we're not gonna read this whole thing, we've all gone through it. Is there, first of all, I guess we'll go ahead.
There was one revision that was suggested to us by Councillor Berry, and we have put the definition of employee in the policy, and also as it appears in the employee policy manual. It's just easier than referencing another document, so it was a good suggestion.
Okay, I'll be looking for a motion for the recommendation. We'll start with Councillor Berry makes the motion. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Berry.
Yes, Director. I appreciate that change. I think that it does add to it. I've read through the whole thing, and I think it's a very good document, so I'm very pleased to support it.
Okay, Councillor Riddick.
I just wanted to direct this question to Director Lefebvre. You had said last meeting, and just in case we have people that don't sit through each of our very scintillating, interesting council meetings, if you could just clarify that this is not a commonly enacted or utilized policy. That's been a practice, but of course it's always best to have a policy that's written down and we can refer to. But could you just clarify how often this happens and how pervasive this use is?
I can right now, out of all of the town staff, there's currently 4 town vehicles that are taken home in the evenings, whether they be on call or what the situation may be for their position. As I said at the last meeting, we're not fixing a problem. There is no issues. We just are going through it and found that we did not have a policy and that we should ratify it by council and make it formal.
Okay, thank you. So you know, further discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next up is Community Services Director. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, the director is off this evening, so I'll be taking this one. This is a request from Family and Community Support Services to close the road for Family Day Community Road Hockey. So the proposal is approval of street closure for the hockey game on Family Day, Monday, February 21st, 2022, proposed by Julie Gottslieg, the manager, Emma Murray, community programmer, and Vegreville District and Family Community Support Services. Background, the Family Day has been a highly successful event. In previous years, we have encouraged more youth to participate by holding a community street hockey game. This activity demonstrates to young people that Vegreville values youth by organizing a game between young people, adults, and the Junior B hockey team. This facilitates role modeling and mentoring by encouraging participation, good sportsmanship, and building relationships. Having the game on the road increases authenticity for the players and visibility to the people driving by. Communication strategy. The Family Day Committee will be responsible for contacting Public Works to determine the management of the street closure, training of staff and volunteers on road closure etiquette, and delivery of the barricades before the statutory holiday to a secure location. Once the event is over, a committee member will return them to a safe location, and pickup by Public Works will be arranged for the next business day. In addition, we will inform the residents and businesses in the area with a flyer the week before the event. Recommendation that Town Council approves the road closure of 1 block east of 47A Street to 49 Avenue on February 21st, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And see highlighted area on the attached map document.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. We'll change the wording from the Junior B to the Junior A Vipers. Any comments? Anybody? Oh, go ahead, Lynn, you're playing?
Sure. Well, I've taken part in this this road hockey before, just with Kids Sport and Jumpstart. It's well attended, and a lot of the groups come out and have some fun with the hockey players, and it's a really good event for Vegreville, so I'm glad to see it's going to go ahead.
Okay. Councillor Lemko.
Your Worship, I as well have attended the event, and although not a good road hockey player, I chose to sit on the sidelines, and watch the excitement and the kids having fun. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to close the road.
Councillor Curtis, have you ever participated in this event?
I don't know that I have actually, but in honor, I actually wore tonight.
Oh, Junior B.
You can't see on there, but in honor of that. So yeah, definitely all for it, and happy it's happening this year.
Okay, thank you. No other discussion. All those in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Okay. Well, that was it. Not a lot going on this right now. Oh. So we're gonna move right to, there's no board motions, or there's no bylaws. When are we gonna talk about, the request for the pins? That I see that's not on here. You did dig up some stuff. Are we gonna discuss that this meeting? I guess I could have put that on the agenda, eh?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I believe if you'd like to discuss it this evening, you're welcome to do so, but their request was dated out in the middle of March, so we do have a little bit of time between now and the next meeting, but
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll all see what you found.
I have information here available for you tonight if you'd like me to
What do
present.
you guys think? You guys wanna move ahead on that one right now? I mean, we just don't got a lot on the agenda, and I wish I had put it on the agenda knowing that you had dug up something. So it's still a business of council, and they're waiting for their answer, so it's on me. I should have put it on the agenda, so I'm sorry about that, but
Yep.
go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Happy to speak to it. So we did do some research from the last meeting. There was the suggestion that there might be a policy out there. There was a policy, in fact, uncovered from 1996. Doesn't appear to be any updates since then, and the policy states that administration is authorized to give out up to 25 pins at their discretion to local teams participating in tournaments and for appropriate events or functions, and if local teams or organizations require additional pins, they may make formal written requests to Town Council. Should town council deny the supplying of additional pins, the group or organizer may purchase pins from the town at cost plus all applicable taxes. There is a note here attached that we're fairly sure we have at least 500 pins on, available right now, so.
Okay, and just enlighten us again, what was the request?
For 275, your worship.
275 plus pens, and the overall cost to the municipality was?
We'd estimated it at between 1,500 and 2,000.
Okay. Okay, so I guess to have discussion on this, we're gonna have to have a motion on it. And then we'll have to have a vote on the motion. Correct? So Counselor Lemko? You're making a motion to,
I'll make a motion to, I guess I can't, because I don't really know enough about it. I don't know who's requested it, what's it for.
oh, you weren't at the last meeting?
Yeah, so
Right, sorry.
I'm out.
Yeah, sorry. So just to help Councilor Lemke out, the bowling alley is having a tournament, and they requested these pins and plus some more pens to put in some bags, and it's a business. It's not a nonprofit that they have there. So we were looking for a little bit of direction and how we handled this in the past, and then our CAO Chris there, he found the information for us. So we're just and nobody could remember ever giving out this amount of pins before. So this is the situation we're in. So, but we should let them know basically, because we didn't really got nothing else going on this meeting. So I know we've all thought about it, and this is the information brought back. So it's hard to make a motion, but that is going to be, we don't know if it'll be defeated or not, but to have a discussion, we should have a motion on the floor, so. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I might just add, if council permit me, I did do some research too. In my previous jurisdiction, a donation such as this to a business by the municipality would not have been permitted, but I double checked with our legal team, and there's no issues here in Alberta for a municipal council providing assistance to a business like this.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so Councilor Borwell, you'll make the motion?
Sure, but the motion that I would like to put forward, because we brought up last time that it would sort of be dependent if we had the pins on stock, because we know we'd be changing some of the design, but be it that we know we have enough, I'd be prepared to make the motion to allow for the pins, but not the pens at this time. So my motion would be just for the pins based upon the fact that they would be the old design.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, go ahead, Councilor Bullock.
I could support Tina on that, being that we have them already, so I think that would be okay for this time for sure. I guess going forward after this for the following years, we'll see what comes up at that point, because I'm sure we're gonna run out of pins. So, but I would support that this time.
Okay, Councilor Berry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I can appreciate that having a spiel of some nature that brings a lot of people into town, and also having pins available for youth to distribute back and forth is a very good idea. But my concern is that we don't really budget for this sort of thing, and we have a lot of different businesses in town. And if we start with one, where will it lead us going down as to how much expense are we going to put to this? I'd feel more comfortable with it if we had had a discussion during budget to determine what our limits would be in terms of purchase of, as we sometimes call it, swag, that would be given out, particularly in terms of to businesses. And I think we should maybe be taking that 1996 policy and looking at it from today's reality. I'm not going to be able to support it just on the grounds that I don't feel that we have budgeted for it beyond the 25. I can understand the 25. That's a typical size of a single team. But I'm just concerned that we're going to start and set up a precedence where we will have quite a few other organizations particularly requesting. And I'm not really certain if I want to totally divide between a business and a nonprofit. We need to have it understood as to how many pins we're going to give out at any given time to any given organization. So at this point in time, I can't actually support it. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? I'll go ahead, Councillor Riddick.
I would like to direct a question through you, Mr. Mayor, to, I think it might need to go to our communications manager. So my question would be about not this existing policy that we have in place, but rather what other supplies we might have in place. And it might be difficult to answer this part of the question. How long have those pens been in existence in this stock? So so I understand that we want to deplete some of our existing stock that we might have in existing swag, whether it's the temporary tattoos or stickers or keychains. We do have a lot of old stock. So I'm just curious what there is there, and if you had any recommendations or idea of how long it's been sitting there, that would help making that decision as well.
Sure. Thank you very much, Councillor. And to answer your question as it pertains to the pins, I feel like it's probably worth noting here that there isn't any plan to change the design of the pins. The pins have the Patook on them and say, I believe, town of Vegreville. There are quite a few of these pins. We have, at least in terms of what I have in my little cubby hole, of about 500, and then there are certainly more than that in the vault. But just so everybody is aware, there's no plans to change the design because there is no need to change the design. It doesn't have the old logo on it. It just, of course, has our world famous Patook. So that was never really on the table. The next question, as it pertains to what we have kicking around in terms of swag, we're near the bottom of the barrel, if I'm being honest, when it comes to stuff with our old logos. That's the, kind of the troublesome part about a rebrand, is that you have to get rid of the old stock somehow and then, financially prepare yourself to bring in new stock. And that is all coming. We've in fact just had a meeting about it a few days ago on Monday of last week to reorder and to prepare ourselves for the new branding on that stuff. But there are some items here and there, but not a ton of one specific item that could potentially meet 275 individual items, if you understand, if I'm explaining myself properly. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful. So just to couch my comments then, I do feel like, of course, we definitely need to come up with a new policy. 1996 is definitely a few years ago, so thank you, Dale, for remembering that last time that was in existence. But the other part of it too, and Councillor Barry touched on this, is that we have talked about previously a promotional budget, and I guess this would probably go under council, because usually this would be something that as council we give, for example, when we've had through RPAP, we hosted nursing students and physicians and physiotherapists here. We prepared swag bags with a number of different elements in them with the intention that they were going to remember Vegreville, and that would be a latent form of advertising. So that said, I think that's a different portion of our conversation moving forward. I don't actually have a problem with providing some Vegreville items for this group, because I think the last paragraph in their letter is the most important part, that they're mostly youth bowlers and people with disabilities that are participating in this tournament. So while it's hosted at a local business, it is supporting two different groups that I think would be deserving of our support. To what level, I would be open to suggestion, and I would guess that probably it wouldn't be a bad thing for us to maybe deplete some of our stock. It doesn't need to be 275 of exactly the same things. But if we were to provide any of the number of items that we've got, to be able to provide that to this group, that would be appropriate as well.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same side as Councillor Riddick with that. Deplete some of the older stuff. I mean, if we generally allow for 25 pins, throw that in the mix too, and go from there, or see what we have in stock at least of the older stuff. And it's not uncommon to have different trinkets in a bag. Doesn't have to all be the same. So if they're comfortable with that, we can get rid of some of that stuff. I'm for that.
Well, I don't think we could do that. I think by looking at Jameson's face is that it's either pins and pens to get to that number. We don't have enough coffee mugs or anything like that. So I think that no matter what, we'll be looking at just their request is for pins and pens. So, Councilor Lemko, did you want to do anything?
I think I support the pins and even pens for swag. And the reason I look that way is that the Vegreville Bowling Alley has supported this type of events over the course of time. Special needs bowlers have come and bowled, and they've supported this kind of event, and they're having it on a larger scale. And I think it's important that we look to them as the business that does this. And I don't think it's something that we need to stress out over. I believe there are pins and pens all over, and I think it's a great idea.
Okay, Councilor Berry.
Your Worship, it seems that around the table, there's a lot of talk about pins and pens. The motion that's on the floor is for pins only. So if we want to go to pens, we'll have to have a friendly amendment of the motion.
So the pens were included in the $1,500 estimate. Okay, so right now it's pins only. Do you want to change your motion with the pens, or are you fine with the pins?
At this point, I'd like to keep it just at the pins, just because I think the cost is getting a little bit high. But obviously, we can do another motion after if it's defeated, I guess.
Councilor Bullock?
I just want to add to that, we've always been wondering about how to help downtown businesses. And with them attracting people to downtown, I think it's another added feature to it. You're getting people downtown for this event, which is going to display other businesses in the area as well. That's another reason I'd support it.
Okay, Councilor Riddick?
I'm not sure if this question can be answered by anybody here. Have we spoken with the bowling alley to clarify? Just because, again, if we're talking about all of the bowlers requiring a pen and a pin, maybe there's a difference. Maybe we provide a door prize or something like that that has more substantial items in it, and then we provide the 25 pins for our local bowlers to exchange. I mean, it would be important to know exactly what it is that they're looking for. The second paragraph suggests that there are a number of different bowlers that are coming, and we're working with that number, but it might be worth clarifying with Kevin and Corrine if that's actually what they're looking for before we make that decision, or do we know that?
Well, it's kind of hard to find that out right now in the middle of a motion, and we're looking to have a vote here, so I'm not sure like how you want to complicate it or where you want to go.
What I would suggest then is that perhaps we need to revisit, that we don't make a decision, we defer that decision, or allow that decision to be deferred.
So the information you're looking for is if they would take something less or
Do they actually need to? I believe that they would have made this request not realizing, as none of us did, the implications, the cost implications. So they may scale back their ask depending on what their actual registrations are, or potentially who would be receiving the items. So maybe the pens are more appropriate and they cost less, and they only need the pins for the coaches. Or maybe there is a way to tailor the ask that's a little bit more palatable for us financially and a little bit more appropriate for them. So I understand that Councillor Warwa has that motion on the floor. I'm not trying to complicate things too much, but we could defer the decision also.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion to defer the decision on Councillor Warwa's motion?
I'm not a legal gymnast here, so I might defer to my colleagues to see at this motion. If we've got a motion on the floor, we need to deal with that first. If we're going to defer that, then we have to have a separate motion. So I guess I have to make a motion. To make a motion, if I want to defer the decision, sure, I will make that motion. And
If I might, I believe that you would have had to make a motion to table the subject to another date. Once the motion is on, I believe it has to stay there and be voted on.
Thank you,
I
Councillor
don't think
Barry.
you can table something in the middle of a motion. I could be wrong, but I think the tabling has to have occurred first.
Okay.
Strike?
So right now, the motion that we have before us is to 200 and how many, 75 pins? And the letter states that there is youth involved, but there's also other adults. And again, I have nothing against a bowling tournament, but what I do have is when we give out this amount to a business that's throwing in an event. And I would imagine if we set a precedent at $1,500 to $2,000, I would imagine that maybe the next drag race, they'll be looking for $2,000 worth of support. And I would imagine most hockey tournaments would be looking for the same thing because they're youth. And we have something in place right now that says that we have 25 to give away to a team. And that's what we have. And until we put something else, a different policy together, I just don't want to set that precedent right now because, I mean, let's pick any business that they want to bring someone to town and they want to advertise their business in a certain way and they want to bring out of town people and they want the town to throw in $2,000 worth of swag to support it. I think that we would be in a real dangerous situation, but go ahead.
Sorry, Your Worship, your question or your conversation twigged another policy that we have in place, which is the promotional one that was established with the idea of providing services and support to community groups. So when you use the drag race, for example, we do provide services to the Ag Society or other entities that isn't particularly swag. For example, if we provide additional snow clearing, that's not a good example for the drag races, but
Hopefully not.
no. But if we provide additional services to the Ag Society for the fair, for example, we've started to quantify that so that we are able to demonstrate the value of our staff and time, as well as something like a pin or a pen. And I would say that probably the dollar amount and the activity is probably something that we should consider as well. So not to muddy the waters, but we do already provide that support to other entities, and we did have a policy put in place precisely to quantify that kind of support that we do provide to other events or groups in the community.
Would we call them nonprofits?
I don't know that they all were. I don't know what the name of that policy is.
I know what
Nonprofit.
you're talking about, and you know, and it simplifies in there. We need to quantify what the level of our participation in our non-monetary actions, like supplying labor and stuff like that. But we don't do it for a private business, really, when they're out trying to engage in making money for themselves. I mean, I appreciate what they do, and I know that the youth bowling and stuff over there is good. And again, it's just hard for me to say that we should do this for the simple fact that the next business decides to throw something at their business, they would have every right to come and ask us as well to supply swag for 250 people that they're going to attract for their business. Go ahead.
Since I made the original motion, so first of all, my original motion was based upon the fact that discussion last time was about using up existing swag. So there was the discussion point thinking something might change within our pins. That was why I went away from the pens, because the pens don't have really a logo. They're very simple, and I knew they were going forward. So that's why particularly I targeted pins versus pens. Now, what I can see from the discussion today and what was brought up by Councillor Rudick was that maybe we do have an opportunity to go back and say, hey, did you recognize the fact that the ask on the pens alone is approximately a $1,500 cost? I think there is a very good chance they don't recognize that. And because we are talking about something different than my original motion would have been in using up of swag, I would be prepared to rescind my motion so that we didn't have to have a formal vote on it, and then maybe go back to them. And I think it would warrant maybe mentioning to them that this is in fact the cost, and is there something that they would maybe look for, a door prize or something that might, you know, be better for them. And then if they are asking specifically again for the pins and the pens, then we know that's their very specific ask and we can vote on that. So I would be prepared to rescind my motion at this time if that would work.
Well, lots of lively discussion, and Councillor Barry.
I think she does have the right to withdraw
Yeah, so.
her motion.
Make it easy on everybody's vote.
Terminology, rescind would mean we'd already passed
Yeah,
it.
we didn't pass it.
And then we'd have to vote on that. I can see that they also may not know that they can purchase swag, because I think that was part of the policy that we heard read out, is that if we provided them a certain number but didn't want us to provide the rest of it, they would have the opportunity to purchase. I don't think they would recognize or understand just what the cost of that is. But, so I think maybe if that's the route we're taking, then maybe we can communicate and have a conversation with them so that they have a better understanding of why we're reluctant to fill their request.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, Your Worship. If it's, if it's council's pleasure, I'd have no problem reaching out to these folks and having a conversation with them. Looking at the calendar, we've got a legislative meeting on the 22nd and then another council meeting, I believe, on the 28th. So, yeah, ample time to bring the information back and have a couple of conversations and make a decision in time for their event.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, I mean, they sent the letters out to lots of different chambers and other things in town to help fill their swag bags too. I just don't know that they realize how much these pins actually cost, so. Okay, so what we have now is Councillor Warwawa has withdrawn her motion, not rescinded.
Yep.
And we're gonna get a little more information. Is everybody okay with that? I see nobody jumping up and down, so that's the plan. Thank you all. I thought we'd get a little controversy going here. At least we got some dialogue back and forth. It's good, because it was getting pretty boring, this meeting. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. We'll start with councillor reports. We haven't heard a lot from Councillor Curtis, so you go first.
Sounds good. So for my reports, not too much going on as of late. We had a bit of obviously delay in start of February, so we had our first ledge meeting on the 8th, and then Economic Development Committee met for the first time on the 10th. Excuse me. And I'd just like to talk about that committee. It was kind of a breath of fresh air. The first meeting, lots of good dialogue, lots of different people from throughout the town, organization that are really excited to help and kind of push the town into the future. So as long as we keep that momentum going, I feel like it's going to be a good committee, something that we haven't had in the past, or that maybe had missed the mark. I think we have a good opportunity to drive Vegreville forward in the future with that. So that's good. We also had the council and CAO quarterly meeting on the 10th. I had to meet our new CAO over the Zoom call, but I did get back home for the weekend and I stopped in and met Chris in his office. We had a really good chat and was happy to meet him. And then we have our council meeting tonight. And that's what I've got so far.
Thank you very much. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. On February the 3rd, we had a St. Joseph Hospital Community Board meeting. I'm still trying to get up to speed on that, get myself orientated on it. It was some very good discussions, and it led to getting some more information out to try and get a profile of the community available so that it can be handed out. And I believe Jameson has graciously volunteered to work on that for them and is getting some information out to them. On the 7th, I finally managed to get onto the online training and took the emergency management online training course. On February the 8th, our ledge meeting, followed by the council and CAO meeting. And I think that we had a very good evening getting to know our new CAO, and hopefully I think that he was getting to know us. So I think we're going to be moving forward with some very good looking things. On the 10th, attended the Brownlee Emergency Trends Seminar I found most of the sessions to be very good, but I'm not going to say too much because all of our fellow counselors will be taking it this Wednesday. So I will leave it there so that I don't surprise them with all the answers, except you might get a different COVID presentation than what we got, because things are changing every single day. And that's what they were fighting, because they had a nice presentation all set up and ready to go, I guess, and we're trying to revamp it, even 5 minutes before they were trying to give it. So I'm certain that there's some changes going to be there again on the 17th when fellow councilors take it. And in tonight's council meeting. So I'll leave it at that and say Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Didn't see that coming. Councilor Warwick.
I do have one. I will be sending you a new report because I did realize that I missed one on here. I had on the 26th Community Futures meeting. And with that, the one thing I wanted to bring up is that our Community Futures has helped businesses in the community with the application through the federal government that was with the SEBA small business stream. So that's one of the things to note. It was a very hard program to negotiate and find your way around online. It was not the greatest application, but they were the ones assisting in the area. And one of the big discussion points was it was just at the last meeting, and the information hadn't fully gone out to yet to the people that were involved, the businesses. But the announcement that the small business stream would have an extension on the repayment time had just come out at that meeting. So previous to that, it appeared that maybe the small side was being left out because it was the larger stream was given an extension, but they hadn't actually announced it on the smaller side, which seemed kind of crazy since they were the businesses more so impacted. But that had just come out. And while in our meetings, we can't for here bring forward specific loans, I think that it is good to note that in the area, the last approval for loans that were given to businesses within the area was around the $1.8 million. So there's a lot of help and support that have gone out to the businesses in the area. So need to add that one in. Apart from that, I also attended the February 8th Legislative Committee meeting the first legislative committee meeting, then our council meeting, our February 14th council meeting, and I was also at the February 6th Stand with the Ukraine. And I just wanted to say about that it was really nice to see everybody out, to hear them singing the Ukrainian national anthem. I thought was wonderful. And I think that the weather gods opened up wonderfully for them that day. It was beautiful out, and it was kind of nice to see them standing under the Pasenka. And I would like to make sure that I always, when I am saying stand with Ukraine, because I have said the Ukraine, which is absolutely incorrect. So I appreciate that opportunity. That's all.
Yeah, and there were nice words that you brought from your office, from the MP's office, and I know that they was very appreciated from all the people there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say about that. It was an honor to be able to be from the MP. It was an honor to be able to be one of the members that was selected to speak at the emergency debate. It wasn't just open for all, and obviously they recognized the stand from our community, from Lakeland, and also the fact that within Lakeland there is 2 municipalities that have sister cities. So that was wonderful. There was an opportunity as well within that emergency debate to also speak to our local Troy Tasha's film and just the importance and support for the area. So once again, it was a nice way for Vegreville to get highlighted somewhat.
Thank you. Councilor Riddick.
Well, since we had our last council meeting, I've had a number of meetings, including a number of FCM presentations to various members on a variety of topics, leading up to the federal budget, talking about the pressing need for a variety of different supports for municipalities. Particularly of importance is the Canada Community Building Fund, formerly known as the gas tax, and the relevance to municipalities of all sizes, as well as a number of different policy decisions that have been important for supporting municipalities through COVID. I will also draw attention to January 28th. Thank you to Councillor Berry for joining me to do a business presentation to Wellness Empowered, and special thank you to Jameson for attending quickly. as well as to Director Saskew for assisting. We have caught up, I believe, on all of our outstanding small business presentations, so I want to just specifically thank Jameson, who came down and the 911 came quickly to assist with that presentation as well. January 29th, I attended Cal's Literacy Day with Councillor Bullock. And February 3rd, the Keep Alberta RCMP Community Engagement Tour. Again, I encourage all of my colleagues to be able to get the perspectives. Some of the documentation that's provided here really lays out the difference in proposed modeling that the province has put forward, neither of which is advantageous and neither of which answers a number of the concerns that we have locally with the level or the caliber of policing that we currently receive in some of the areas of concern that we have. So again, having a fulsome understanding of all of the aspects of policing is important, but it's really helpful to be able to just delineate some of the proposals that the province has put forward and be able to see the numbers of staff components that they're providing as their two options in the provincial proposal. February 10th, MD Minberg Foundation, which is a new board for me, and I appreciate very much that some of the decisions that they're making at that foundation. Councillor Berry was there previously, and there's some difficult decisions to be deciding, although there have been vacancies throughout COVID, as seniors in the area had difficulty deciding whether or not they would leave their home and embark on this new journey into congregate living. There have been a number of residents that have recently moved to the facility, which is great. So the vacancies are decreasing, but there is an ongoing need to renovate some of the existing rooms because they are so small and they don't have the facilities that seniors in the area would be looking for. So a number of things to consider, particularly with the provincial budget coming down right away. It's unlikely that there would be any investment in seniors housing in this particular pocket. So some of the discussions that we'll have moving forward is the ongoing discussion that was there by councillors far before me about the need for renovating that particular site, making the rooms that are currently there more usable and ensuring that we continue to build for the future in the way that seniors in the area are looking for as the only nonprofit seniors housing that's in the community. It's important that we provide the appropriate level of housing for our aging population as well. And tonight's meeting and February 11th, I also attended the Revive Salon and Spa grand reopening, another local business that has reinvented and expanded their services. So good to see that there is an expansion of local businesses as well. And tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much, and we're not quite done with recognizing new businesses. We got a couple more. So we'll be getting those plaques ready, and of course Deanna is in charge of plaques right now. She loves doing it. Councillor Bullock, what have you been up to?
Okay, what I've been up to on January 27th, something close to my heart here. Virtually attended the Alberta Health Services and Yellowhead Advisory Council conversation on suicide prevention in the Central Zone. I previously have lost 2 close friends to suicide, so that's why it's hard to me. It's important to know there are resources and supports available, such as Together All, Text for Hope, and Canada Suicide Prevention Service. You can get a hold of them at 1-833-456-4566. How can we help someone? We can learn to use the REACH pathway. REACH as in R, recognize the warning signs and risk factors. E, engage in conversation and listen with empathy. Ask about suicidal thoughts and feelings. C, connect to supports and resources. Explore their strengths and protective factors. Heal ourselves by taking care of our own mental health. I'm sure there's a lot of people here in the community have felt feelings on this at one time or another, and friends that we have lost, so that's why it's so important to me. On January 29th, attended Literacy Day, where families enjoyed an afternoon of learning in the great outdoors, enjoyed wagon rides, snow volcanoes, story stroll, snowshoeing fun. The Community Association for Lasting Success, Kalena Family Resource Network, Vegreville and area, Vegreville Fire Department, Vegman Learning Association, Cadet Club of Vegreville, and the Kinsmen of Vegreville were all very fortunate to have these caring organizations with their wonderful volunteers in our community. On February 3rd, I attended the Vegreville and District Chamber of Commerce meeting. February 6th, attended the Stand with Ukraine family rally at Vegreville, Pesica, along with our colleagues here. February 8th, legislative committee meeting. February 8th, our council CA quarterly meeting. And February 9th, Community Association for Lasting Success committee meeting. February 10th, our new Economic Development Committee meeting, which is going to be really good for our town. Lots of good things going on there. Stay tuned, everyone. And tonight's council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bullock. Now, I've been saving the best of the last. Can you give us a fishing report, Councillor Lemko?
Well, Your Worship, my report is quite small, one line. But I did have 5 lines in the water in Cascade because it's allowed. The first week of after the last council meeting, I had no board meetings or committee meetings, and then I was away for all of last week, so I missed out a lot of stuff, and I missed out on the request for the pins, which I thought coming off guard there. Anyway, the only line item I have for my report is tonight's council meeting.
Well, I can tell you that we're glad to have you back. You were missed. Okay, thank you all for what you do, and I know everybody's been busy, and so I've been up to a few things. On the 2nd, I attended in St. Paul the Alberta Hub meeting, and it was brought to our attention that the manager of Alberta Hub, Perry, is leaving. So I knew this before the meeting, and the interim chair, Mayor of Lloydminster, got a hold of me and asked if the Alberta Hub could approach our economic development manager, Bob, and if he could help while they're trying to find someone to fill the manager's position. So I was glad that he reached out to me first, and he had a conversation with Bob, and so Bob is doing about an hour every night after work and catching up on the emails and stuff for Alberta Hub and trying to keep that organization flowing the way it always has. And while we're looking for a new manager, I heard there's about 25 applications for the position, because the last time there was only 1. So hopefully things will get back online there real quick. On the 3rd, I did Talk of the Town with our new CAO, Chris, and I don't know, I listened to it, it come off pretty good. You sounded more interesting than I did, so. Also on the 3rd that evening, I had the John S. Patook Water Commission meeting. And then on the 6th, I too attended the Support Ukraine, not the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it was very nice, you know, like no matter what, I can't even imagine what those people are going through there right now with young families, old families, seniors, and I mean, somebody's on three sides of you right now with all that intention that as a war. So no matter what, everybody should have a prayer for those people, because what's happening over there is just not right. And we look at history, we see what happens with bullies like that, and if they're left unchecked, and where they'll end up. So we on the 8th, we had a meeting with the ECDev manager and the CAO, just to bring our new CAO up to speed on some of the things that we're working on there. And I thought it was a very good meeting, and Chris had brought some input in that was important to us moving forward, so it was really nice. On the 9th, we had another meeting with a company called Inca. We've met with them a few times already, and Chris was in on that meeting. Just before that, we met with another company, Blue Sky, and with a local realtor, and we went around and looked at some vacant buildings in town, and they had a good idea. They were thinking about moving their business to town at Saskatoon, so that worked out very well. And they've been in contact with us again, and they want to come back for another visit right away. So, and then I too attended the Brownlee Emerging Trends, and there is a few things for those of you who haven't taken it yet on the FOIP rules, and so things that were pretty interesting, and on the charter and whose rights have been denied. Well, really, their opinion is a lot different than what we're hearing. So be like I said, take in those sessions because it's really important. The 10th, that was on the 10th, and on the 10th I also did the Talk of the Town, and we taped it, Phil and myself, Director Rowe, and we talked about the rep program being dropped by the province, and moving forward, how our facilities looked and how they'd be managed, and the capacities. And I asked them, I said, well, pretty soon people will be phoning about the social center. Don't worry, it's packed. It's full agenda at the social center as soon as it's allowed to open. There's a lot of people waiting to get married, I guess.
I heard.
Yeah. So, actually, I actually didn't hear today the taping, so anybody heard it? Nobody phoned me and said anything bad yet, so we'll see how that goes. On the 10th, we had the new Economic Development Committee, and we were putting some terms and references together and how we're going to work, and basically what is the object of this new committee. And I think we ended up having 4 action items coming out before we put some terms and references together. And it was, I took a really good feeling away from the meeting, and we're going to have another one within a month, and we're going to put some of these terms and references to the committee and how it's going to work, and hopefully the 4 action items will be done, and we'll pick another 4 things within our organization, and we'll just keep moving on that. So then on the 10th, another John S. Patook Water Commission meeting. Today we had another meeting with Inca, and we toured our future home of the Prosperity Park, and I asked Dale and Public Works to push a road in there for us today, and we're going out again tomorrow. And with the Inca, we're taking a look at site and taking some shots on some elevations and stuff. And tonight's town council meeting. That's what I have. So, is there any other business of council? Go ahead, Councillor Riddick.
Sorry, this is a bit unorthodox, but just to circle back to what Councillor Bullock was talking about before, I'm glad that you took such value out of the Yellowhead East Health Advisory Council presentation. I am vice chair of that committee, and it is of particular interest to every community talking about mental health. And if we could provide some of those access points, there are a number of supports in Central Zone for anybody that's struggling, and I want to make sure that we provide that to our community members. The numbers of deaths by suicide have gone down since 2016, but each of those numbers represent a loved one, so it's important that we provide that support to our community. So if we could provide that information to our communications, I will get that information from our committee to be able to share with the community and specifically make it relevant. We did all participate in Bell Let's Talk, but I think it's important for us to make sure that we provide that information to our staff and our community. So.
Okay, thank you very much. So, seeing no other business of council, we are about to go into closed session. The mayor and council received a letter from a citizen, and we're not going to discuss it in open meeting because there's still some investigation going on with it, so we will get brought up to date on everything that he is claiming in the letter in a closed session. So I'd like to somebody make a motion. Councillor Berry makes the motion, we go into closed session. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.